correct me in the comments section if I'm wrong. But I have a very strong suspicion that what I'm about to show you is the most complicated, over-engineered, over-the-top reverb pedal that has ever existed. And I wouldn't just throw that around willy-nilly for any reverb. I'm talking about the Game Changer Auto Reverb. And I've spent the last 2 or 3 days getting to know this thing. And with each new thing I learn, I get more and more intimidated to film this demo because there is so much going on. And you have to kind of like rewire your brain a little bit to understand this reverb. I watched a bunch of videos that Game Changer Audio made themselves about this series of pedals, and I really didn't fully understand what I was watching until I actually had it in front of me and I could experience it for myself. So I'm going to try my very best to demonstrate this pedal for you and cross my fingers and hope that I can communicate what I'm actually experiencing with this pedal, because it's a complete reinvention. Every single time Game Changer makes a new product, it's like they completely reinvent the wheel. Like they start from scratch and make something that people haven't seen before. Every single time. It's wild. And it seems like it keeps getting more and more extreme with each new product. So anyways, I can't wait to get to the part of the video where I can show you sounds like this. Or this. Or even this. But first, I need to show you the basics. So let's get into it. I'm going to be using my Fender American Performer Mustang running into the Two Princeton's rig. I'm not giving you extra Two Princetons as a treat because I know you want extra. I'm giving it to you because I'm stalling, because I'm so intimidated to start this demo. There is so much ground to cover, and I know I'm going to be barely scratching the surface, and there's going to be a lot of things that I explain and it makes sense to me, and you're just going to be like, what? I don't get it, because you don't have it there in front of you. But I'm going to try my best. So anyways, let's get into it. Here is my dry signal from the middle position on the Mustang. That's all you need. Let's get into the very basics before I start getting into all the complicated things that this pedal can do. So the very basics of it are, we have a 3-way switch right here that gives you hall, spring, and plate reverb sounds. Then you've got a level control, a decay control, a tone control, and a filter control. So let's go through the different reverb algorithms first. Here is the hall. My favorite, I think, from this pedal. It's thick and huge and ambient and lush. Then on to the spring setting, and I know you're already asking, Ryan, does it drip? No, not really. It's not that style of reverb. It is not a Fender outboard, surfy, drippy style reverb. It's more of an in-amp style spring reverb, but it has that springy quality to it. It has a bit of like this clicky kind of pushback to your playing, and it has that springy tonality. Let's try it from the bridge pickup. With everything this pedal does, I really wouldn't be running to this for a traditional reverb sound anyways. Like, I wouldn't expect it to do the full surfy drippy thing. Like, this is an ambient play box. This is an ambient player's dream come true. This pedal is for people who treat reverb like its own instrument in a way. All right, here is the plate setting. Now that I've waxed poetic a little bit extra. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the hall setting because I love it. It's just so lush. Yeah. Now I'll go through the 4 most basic knobs here. The level control. It goes all the way up. Of course, it goes all the way down. Which is actually more important than you realize. Like, you need that knob to go all the way down. Then there's the decay control, which goes all the way. It goes infinite. Sorry for upsetting your pets. Here's what it sounds like all the way down. Just a splash. Now on to the tone controls. This tone control, I mean, I'm calling them tone controls. You're saying, I only see one. Well, the filter is also a tone control, obviously, duh. So the first tone control controls the tone of the signal being fed into the reverb. It's not controlling your dry signal that you control with the mix. You're not adjusting the tone on your dry signal. But the part of the signal that they take and they feed it into the reverb has a tone control, and it's right here. Real dark. Or real bright. Let's hear that spring reverb without set real bright. Just a little surfier. Yeah, not bad. Now we'll go over to that filter control. Have you figured out what the filter does yet? It controls the tone of the reverb after the reverb. So you have a pre-tone and a post-tone. Let's let that mix a bit. Interesting options. You can stack bright into dark and dark into bright and bright into bright and dark into dark and everywhere in between. All the way dark. All the way bright. Still in the spring, aren't I? And did I do bright into dark, or did I do dark into bright? I can't remember. Let's take it back to the hall. All right, that was the basic stuff. Like all that sounds great. Like that could just be the pedal. That could just be the standalone pedal. But there's so much. There is so much to get into now. Like this is where the demo actually starts. All of that was just showing you the basic core reverb that is built inside of this machine. Now I'm going to get into this channel, this canyon in the middle of this pedal. I've never seen a pedal with this style of case design before. It's why, and I get why they did it, because I'm about to plug a bunch of little cables into the middle of this pedal to route things around, to change the reverb with my playing dynamics and with the note choices that I'm choosing to play. I don't know how to prepare you guys for what I'm about to do. It gets really involved. So anyways, you might have noticed these two little displays down here that are bouncing around as I'm playing. So what's going on here is that on the left side, I'm gonna start with the left side because it's the easiest to demonstrate and explain. It is sensing my playing dynamics. And as I set this up, I'm gonna make it so that my playing dynamics will determine whether or not my signal is being routed through this main knob up here for the level control or the secondary knob for the level control. And the way I do that is I plug into this output jack right there and then into the level control input. Now I'm going to do two wildly different settings, all the way up and all the way off on the level control. This side is on. There is a three-way switch here to determine either a gate setting, a slow rise setting, or a fast setting. We're going to start on the gate to most dramatically demonstrate what's going on here. So I'm going to pick really light, and we're going to hear, is that going to be the max setting or the minimum setting? That's the max setting. If we get up over it, the reverb is gone. The reverb disappears because it is being routed through that secondary knob that is all the way down. And I can reverse that with this little switch down here that goes from sum, EXT to alt. EXT is for external controlling of other devices, so I'm not going to mess with that. But if I go to the alt setting, it'll reverse it. So the light playing will be clean now, and when I dig in, then I'll get that reverb. Let's see if I can play light enough. Having a little trouble staying in the pocket with my playing dynamics. I want to have more room for that clean playing so I can actually adjust where that center line is with this knob. Bring it up higher. Now that gives me more room. can actually even adjust that setting without touching the knob, just by putting my foot on this and plucking. So if I'm switching guitars in the middle of a set and I don't want to bend down and adjust things, I can just play where I want that dynamic level to be. Let's put it back to the middle and I'll show you the fast setting. This gives you an immediate transition into your secondary setting and then slowly ramps it down. And you can control the speed of that ramp down by holding this and twisting the knob. So if you want a slow ramp, you go all the way up. You want a fast ramp, you can go down and everywhere in between, but I'll leave it in the default for now. Have I lost you yet? There's a lot going on and we've barely started here. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. You can see that red indicator go all the way up to show you that the primary level is being mixed in, and then watch it drop out. Now let's go for that rise setting, which will slowly bring it in and slowly bring it out. And I'll even dial it in to be a little extra slow. And you can do that with any of the knobs that have this secondary feature here. You can have a max setting, you can have a completely taken out setting, or you can have much more subtle settings, swelling from like 30% reverb to 35% reverb if you want to. If you just want that little extra push as you dig in or you pull back. You can get yourself into some really fun, creative situations. Also, something I didn't show off. Oh my gosh, I should have done this when I was showing off the decay. If you want to have that maximum infinite decay whenever, all you have to do is hold down both foot switches. Like that's just sitting there. There's all sorts of little tricks like that built into this pedal. All right, back into patch-based stuff. Oh my gosh. I want to have some fun showing off a thing I like to do because I like nonsense sounds. I'm going to route out of that dynamic part of the patch bay into both tone controls. The reason I like to do this is because it gives this really fun, like envelope controlled, like step filtery sort of sound. Let's put it on the gate and we're going to do extreme settings on both tone controls. So it'll be all the way dark on one side, all the way bright on the other. Let's turn that down to the middle. stupid, fun little thing to do. And I hear you guys criticizing this right now. You found a kink. You found an issue in the design of this pedal. You're saying, Ryan, I love stacking drives into my reverbs. If I stack a big old nasty fuzz into this reverb, isn't it gonna completely destroy my playing dynamics and make it so that this isn't functional at all? Well, Game Changer thought of that already, and they included this auto splitter. This is a little box you run before your pedal here. Before actually any pedals you're gonna run into it. This is my guitar's cable. This is the output into the plasma pedal. If you're familiar with the plasma pedal, you know things are about to get very, very fuzzy. And it has a control out of here. It actually has 4 plugs for controls, so you can control 3 other of these auto pedals with just your dry signal. That's what's going on here. You are bypassing your dry signal into the control of the auto reverb, so you can put a big old nasty fuzz in front of your auto reverb or your auto delay or your auto modulation, and you don't lose that dynamic control. Do you understand? Do you understand that concept? Like, some of this stuff is just going to go way over some people's heads. It went over my head, I'll say that. So here it is with the plasma pedal. Same control I get when it's clean. And I can prove it by turning the volume up. If this was controlling the dynamic range of that, turning that volume up would have just completely maxed out that range, and you wouldn't have heard any difference at all. It would have just been stuck on one setting. So that's all ridiculous, right? Did I show off the fast and the rise and the gate already? I'm already lost. I think I did when I was showing off the level control, right? Let's do the rise on this setting to show it slowly blending in between the 2 tone extremes. Let's swap that over and connect that max to the decay instead of the filter. How about decay and level? And now the tone controls will be static. And of course, I can reverse that. Maybe I should have led with that. So now on to the other side of the pedal, this other display here. This is for pitch stuff. Yeah, you can control whatever you want with your dynamics. But what about your notes? Like, again, they could have stopped right there. Game Changer could have been like, oh yeah, that's enough. Control a bunch of stuff with your dynamics. You've got a great big lush sounding reverb here. You can hold down both things for infinite trail. You have all the controls here for fast, rise, and gate. Did I show you that you can control the speed of the application and the release of the rise? I can't even remember what I've showed you so far because there's so much going on. So yeah, the pitch side. Let's route something out of pitch. We'll go from that to decay. We'll explore it via decay. So what you got to do starting out is you have to set your note. You do that by holding this in and selecting a note. I'll select an open G. So now the way it's set up, if I play that open G, or a note that's very similar to it, a different G on the fretboard, it will max out the decay, where the rest of the time, that's what it sounds like. But I hit that open G. like that G. It likes this G. And you might be thinking, Ryan, that's pretty limiting. A bunch of reverb on only one note? Well, with the pitch control, you can dial it in so every note higher, or a range of notes higher than that G, get that adjustment applied to it. It's starting to fade. See? Or you could go the other way, and a range of notes after that G will trigger that alternate reverb setting. That took me pretty much all the way to low E. That's a lot of range to play with there. But then it cuts off right past that G. So obviously there's a bunch of creative stuff you can do with that and mix that with the dynamic stuff at the same time. Like there's a bunch of cables here. You can max it out. You can control all sorts of things, all sorts of different directions with your playing dynamics and the pitch, the note that you're playing. There is a tone setting, and that's more like defining in between low strings and high strings. So we'll do this. So now it maxes out on the low strings. And you get more clarity. You get a shorter reverb trail on the high strings. Let's put that in the middle. And then the last setting is for external controls. I'm not going to mess around with that. Anything else? There is a switch up here that gives you various different stereo mixes. Right now it is set to off. I'm not running stereo. I'm not going to. There's too much to cover in this pedal anyways. It's an off right now, or you could have 50% mix across the stereo output, or you could have 100% mix where it would be hard left, hard right with whatever you're running into that. There's all sorts of stuff on the back too that I'm not gonna get into. Oh man, you can daisy chain these with other pedals in the line. You can use them to control other like modular synth things. I'm not in that world. I don't know how all that stuff works, but you can incorporate these in all sorts of other rigs with your patch cables and with all sorts of technology and, you know, the little audio splitter and stuff. Like, it's a whole system. It's a whole system for building some very unique, ridiculous, over-the-top reverb sounds. reverse it. Let's come up with something wild. Let's do something ridiculous and irresponsible, if there is such a thing that's even possible. Like, everything you do with this pedal is going to feel wild and irresponsible, right? All right, let's take a long look at this and figure out something crazy we can do. Obviously, what I've been doing here in this demo is mostly demonstrating its functions. A lot of times people complain, not a lot of times, but sometimes people complain that I tend to show the extremes of what each knob does, and I don't spend enough time dialing in end-use scenarios. There's so much going on here that I can't really predict what your end-use scenario will be. That's part of the reason why I show off the extremes, so you can see what range there is and use your brain, use your imagination to think about what you could do in between. And that setting right there, that felt really fun to me. It felt dynamic. It was all over the top. You know, it's all just very saturated reverb, but then the tonal qualities and the length of the trail and the mix, it all shifts and changes with your playing dynamics. And it just feels like this organic relationship that you have in between the reverb and your guitar. It brings the reverb closer into being its own instrument. It's a really wild pedal to mess around with. I'll say that. It's an experience. And it's the sort of thing where you could spend days, weeks, your lifetime exploring it and dialing it in and making notes in a notebook so you can get back. It kind of needs like a bank of like 100 presets or something like that, because this isn't complicated enough. There's not enough going on here, right? Oh, this whole series is just wildly over-engineered. Everything that's going on. And there's other stuff. I tried to keep it to the basics. And I spent most of the time just chasing as much as I could. But what do you guys think? Do you feel compelled to learn more? Go look up other videos. Go look up the videos that Game Changer Audio has up. They're the mad scientists behind these things. They have a video up of their delay that looks super fun. Like imagine like the time of a delay shifting and ramping with your dynamics or which note you choose. They were doing this thing in their delay demo where they were selecting a note and a range around that note. So you're playing your normal stuff, and then all of a sudden you slide up here and you hit like a high B flat or something like that, and all of a sudden just take off time, just delay, just like, and then you pull away from it, and like, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do in that direction with this line of pedals. So huge thanks to Game Changer Audio for sending this out to me. Like it's been a trip. It's been a trip exploring this. I hope that I communicated this pedal well to you guys, the audience members, the viewers. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I want to know if you're curious. I want to know if you want to know more about these. I want to know if you feel compelled to go put one in a shopping cart and sit there and think about it for a couple of days before you pull the trigger eventually. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, dislike, leave me a rude, nasty comment, support us on Patreon, buy a shirt if you're naked, and stay grounded.